Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show here on STV. The main talking points on tonight's programme: Scotland continue their preparations for the upcoming friendlies against the Czech Republic and Denmark. Inverness's James Vincent and Danny Williams have signed pre-contracts with Dundee. We'll also bring you details of the Ethics Energy Scottish Junior Cup semi-final draw. It was conducted earlier today. We'll bring you details of that in the company of Alan Ruff. I'm Peter Marston. I'm delighted our bookroom guest is the Director of Football Development at the SFA, Jim Fleeting. And with that in mind, Scotland on the horizon, Ruffy. Some really good and interesting comments in the papers today. Mark McGee's caught my eye. Tony Watt not fit enough for top flight football. I think he would send him to boot camp. He's got the ability, just needs to apply himself a little better.
Yeah, he seems to be one of these players. I mean, there are individuals out there who think they've made it, and but they just need a wee push in the right direction. I'm surprised they brought it out now, but maybe he's just looking for a reaction from the player, to see if he can up his game and obviously get a long run with Scotland.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about his talent, Jim. He can score goals. I wouldn't even like to say it's something in our DNA, but, some of our players have got the ability, if they even moved on to another level that some of the Premiership players down south are able to do, and just, physically, mentally, get in that zone every week and then take themselves on to another level.
He's the type of player that can win a game. And so therefore, if someone can win a game and score a goal, then they'll all have a chance. It's the way it goes. If you've got to take that chance with some of these players on some occasions, and it's good to see he's getting the opportunity. And everyone here is desperate to see how it's going to work out. Everyone remembers the goal at Parkhead against Barcelona. Everyone remembers that, and it's something that Tony Watt will need to live with for the rest of his days. He managed to score that one. Can he score some more in the national teams?
Yeah, you've seen them come and go. Is there a source of frustration when you see someone with so much talent that you think, down through the years, players that you think, oh, he could have gone on to another level?
There's thousands and thousands of them, I'm sure about that. You can think of somebody for your school days in P1 and you say, Derek Carr was a player, he should have made it. And that's just the case, that's just the way the game goes.
Yeah, I'm wondering, is there a Derek Carr?
Yes, there is a Derek Carr. He was a super player when at the primary school all the way through, and for some strange reason he just walked away from it, and that was him.
Was there one for you, Ruffy?
Yeah, I had a boy at school called Willie McGrotty, who went down to Blackpool. He was the best player in the whole school, went down to Blackpool and just never made it, and then, just like Jim said there, he just walked away from it.
Yep, okay. Always interesting to get the thoughts of Mark McGee on it. I wonder what Gordon Strachan's take on it will be. Certainly a surprise when he was included in the squad. And this is, of course, a game against the Czech Republic. It's the first time we've been back there since this 4-6-0 formation. Now, I don't think it's in the coaching manual, but nevertheless, I think Mark McGee came up with a brilliant line on it, which is basically, it was something Fergie tried, but he quickly changed it in the Aberdeen days.
Yeah, but I look at that night, okay, we're all struggling to get our head round. There wasn't actually a main striker up front, but I can't remember when they scored their goal, but up until 72 minutes, if we'd have come away from there with a draw, people might have looked at that and went, well, maybe we should try that again. But football being football, we lost the game and it turned on its head. And we haven't done it since, but there are other teams who do try that system.
Yeah, it's funny actually, and I can't wait for your thought on this, Jim, but I started to worry after minute 1 when the ball broke to Steve McManus and he launched it and there was nobody up there to try and get on the end of it. Tell me something different about it. Is it easier to play 4-6-0 if you have a team littered with world-class stars like Barcelona?
4-6-0, as Ruffy says, he could have been a hero that night. The players could have come back from Czech Republic, but at least a point. I go to these coaching conferences all about the world, and one time one guy was sitting up in the top deck and he was talking about 1-9-1 was how it's going to be. And the 9 would just play in the good old days of, your 3 in the middle of the park, etc., like it was. Your 2 full-backs, your 3 midfield players and your 5 forwards. And that's what they were discussing. And so therefore, the 4-6-0 wasn't anything that's not been discussed at top level. It's been discussed, and people are looking at it. and they just say, if you go back to the Dutch way back in, again, back to way back, you know, the all conquering Dutch team everybody could play every position, and they just continuously moved. Total football, as they said it was at the time. So there are all these things, and I'm quite excited about things like that. I love people trying something different. I love that opportunity to watch people when they're on the park, coach it, and it's good to see that. But I think at that time it wasn't right for us at that time. But good luck to Craig for trying it. That's it. But sadly for him, he fell on the sword.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, we've been speaking to a few people who've been on, I would presume, your courses for coaching, and one of them mentioned that he was listening to Marcello Lippi, who said, you know, is there a formation? Somebody asked him if there's a formation that he sticks by throughout his career, and he said, no, my formation is based on the players I have available to me.
Very much so. And Marcello always talks that way. He's been good. He's been over twice, and by the way, they're not my courses. They belong to Scottish football.
Yes.
And they belong to the Scottish Football Association. And there's a raft of people who organise these courses. I just turn up, do my work, and do my shift like everybody else. But Marcello, that's the same thing he was talking about. He always aligns to what his players are good at, and he's got to look after their players, and he's got to look after the special players. And he talks about that. He's a really funny man. He's a really cool customer, and he's someone who thinks greatly about the game and thinks about who's the best to get out of these players. How can you do that?
I'm not going to mention your age, Jim, but you've been over the course with this, and everybody automatically thinks about you know, you being there as part of this coach under the auspices, of course, of the SFA. Has the course changed, or have you changed as a person when you witness, you know, Andre Villas-Boas, people have mentioned Jose Mourinho, people coming to the course? Have you changed when you've maybe listened to what other people have to say in their insight into coaching?
Yeah, you think about it. If we don't change, we're going backwards. We've got to change a consistent, you know, there's got to be that consistency every time you put something out there. It's new and it's fresh. You can't just go with the same things we were doing 10 years ago, 20 years ago and 30 years ago. We've got to change that. And of course the modern day coach likes the opinion more than what they used to like in the olden days. And of course these people, as you've got to give them that opportunity to do what they can do, see what they're doing, assist them if you possibly can, because sometimes they're better than you, and that's been noted many times, particularly when myself was involved. And you go and you watch these guys, and they do things that's fantastic. I went over to America recently, and I did this game called the Nathan game. And the reason I called it Nathan was that was the guy's first name. At this minute in time, I forget his last name, the poor soul. But it was a fantastic practice he put on here. And it was about counter-attack, and it was about defending. And I did this session in America, and of course somebody says to me, and what do you call that game there? I said, I call it the Nathan game, because this guy should get the credit for coming up with something as magical as this. It was a fantastic thing he showed. And I do that all the time. I'll steal anything that's good, and I'll promote it, but I'll not promote it as the Scottish FAs, and I'll not promote it as Jim Fleetons. I'll try and promote it as much as I can about the individual who's shown it, because the more names we get doing those sort of things is good for us. It's good for us, and it's very good, and it's worked out quite well. So we're all for the person who comes. We're there to support them. We've got someone who's particularly talented in coach education, and Alan will know the wee Tasmanian Devil. It's Donald Park, who's just absolutely magical on the pitch. He's absolutely wonderful. He gets a meeting out of his hand. He's already been credited with so many international players going through, particularly his time at Hibs. He's a grumpy wee bandit, I think we all know that. At this minute in time, he's doing a presentation in Lyon for people from UEFA. That's where he's off to today. So we're quite lucky in getting Donald to come and work with us. That's not to say the people before that hadn't done a fantastic job, but things keep changing, and it will keep changing. We'll do our best not to stand still.
And I think that's the thing that a lot of people are receptive to, which is why a lot of people come to this course, Ruffy, because of flexibility, the ability to move with the times. Yeah,
then when you get a reputation, you know, of the people who are going through the course, you want people coming from other countries to sample what's on offer. And I think it's good that the coaches that we've got, obviously through Jim, are very, very highly regarded. Yeah. And of the 700 guests we've had, Ruffy, did you for 1 minute start to panic there when Jim said bandit? When I think back of our 700 guests, I never had Jim Fleeting taking us off air, but thankfully he didn't. Coming up
up in the next part of the programme. We're going to talk more with Jim. Obviously, you could talk forever and a day about coaching, some of the coaches who've been on the courses with the SFA. But coming up, we'll have the Scottish Junior Cup semi-final draw. The details of that, it took place earlier today. We'll also talk about St Mirren's game against Wraith Rovers tonight, Clyde against Annan, Barry Ferguson's new contract at Clyde, and we are going to talk football, including international football and some of the football across all 4 leagues in Scotland over the weekend. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. Alan Ruff is alongside me. Peter Martin, our boot room guest, I'm delighted to say, is the Director of Football Development at the SFA, Jim Fleeting. Sometimes in the break, you just pick up little gems that you feel it would be, well, it would be a sin not to actually tell you what we managed to pick up. But Jim Fleeting, not known for his goal-scoring prowess, has actually scored in the Premier League. Jim, please do tell.
With 1 goal in the Premier League. I never played many games. I was the best reserve player ever because I'd never played that many first team games. But one day at Capello, we were playing against a team called Hibernian. And sadly for Hibernian, they lost 4-1 that day. And I happened to score a diving header from the edge of the 18-yard box against one of my heroes, who was a Scotland legend. And I can only thank him very much here today personally for being kind enough to let that ball hit the back of the net. So thank you very much, Alan.
And thankfully he left out that Andy Ritchie had scored a hat-trick before.
But you know what's great about it, Ruffy? Of the 700 or so guests we've had, everybody scored.
Yeah, it's a bit of a trend going on here. You know, Gordon Smith, it was his first ever goal for Rangers. So, yeah, there you go.
Well, thank you very much.
Absolute screamer. It came through a ruck of players. I never saw it until late.
Brilliant. Great to get that on. Now, earlier today it was the Ethics Energy Scottish Junior Cup semi-final draw. Ruffy was there with Jim, thankfully, to help us with the Ethics Director, James Montgomery, to pull out the names of the teams who are going to take part in it. And just for your benefit, it was number 1 Beath, number 2 Hurlford, 3 Kilwinning Rangers and 4 Pollock. This is how it all played out. Jim Fleeting, could you start the Ethics Energy Scottish Junior Cup semi-final draw?
Number 1.
Number 1 is Beath with a home draw in the semi-final.
Against number 3.
Kilwinning Rangers.
Number 2.
Hurlford.
Number 4.
Will play Pollock. So there you have it. That was the draw for the Scottish Junior Cup semi-final. Beath against Kilwinning Rangers, Hurlford against Pollock. What did you make of it all, Ruffy?
I think both games have been magnificent. I think it's a great idea. It being over 2 legs, it gives you a decent chance. It gives you a chance to bring in money for the clubs, which is always important. I think both games will be well supported in both legs. And I have to be honest, I don't think you could call a winner really in any of the 2 ties. Yeah,
there's a lot of interest, friends and family involved for yourself, Jim, in this, especially Kilwinning Rangers.
Yeah, there is. The son-in-law took him over about 2.5 years ago, and he's done a great job there. I'm only saying that in this room, please don't tell him I said that. And of course, my son plays with him as well. My daughter, she runs a supporters bus up and down to all the games they came on, or whatever the case may be. So there's a lot there, but I'm an Ayrshire junior fan. I really am. I go to junior football quite a lot. And, you know, Beath is one of the places that I visit quite a number of times. And I just like the effort that they put into the game. There's also a bit of fun at some of the games as well, and I enjoy the kind of banter between fans. Hurlford and Pollock is the, you know, if you're wanting to look at the kind of purists, you would say both of the teams probably are a bit stronger than Beath and Cullen without doubt. And it's good to see Pollock coming back. You know, the strength of Pollock was a few years ago. It's fantastic, but I'm also very pleased for Dan Henderson, my midfield teammate, my over 35s. Just took Hurlford to the semi-finals yet again, so it's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And those ties will be played over the 9th and 10th and the 16th and 17th of April. It's home and away at the semi-final stage as well. So if you get a chance, get along and support those junior games too. Back to the professional game. Here's something, Ruffy, that a number of managers don't like. Maybe some fans don't like it as well. Inverness duo James Vincent, Danny Williams signed pre-contracts with Dundee.
Yeah, it's a bit of the game that I think managers have to live with now. That's the way it is. You know, that's within the rules, and players are now determining where their future is going to be. When myself and Jim played, we used to sign 6-year with 6-year options. You know, yeah, and it was very hard trying to get away from some of the clubs, but you know, that's the way it is. And players and clubs use it to their advantage.
I suppose you've just got to be professional about it. I can't recall a player that I thought maybe he's affected by it if he signed a pre-contract. I can't think of anyone that springs to mind.
No, I think sometimes it's the club that are upset more than anything, you know, because sometimes these players have been with them 3 or 4 years, and then for whatever reason they want to move. So the clubs look for some kind of loyalty. But in this day and age now, there doesn't seem to be very much of that going about.
OK, does the winner of St Mirren Raith Rovers, if Raith Rovers win it, do they feel really confident that 4th place will be theirs? They could move, I think, 10 points clear.
Yeah, I think they're on a good run just now. I think the result of the weekend was there for everybody to see. It was they've got a good squad there now. He's brought in a lot of experienced players, and yeah, that's what they'll be saying in the dressing room. Another couple of wins, and it's the 4th place is theirs.
Yep, and Clyde against Annan is equally an appealing game tonight because Barry Ferguson signed a new deal to 2019, and this is a chance for Clyde to actually put a bit of pressure on East Fife, Jim.
I think there's nothing but pressure on that division if you look at the amount of points between the teams and the gap for that 4 final playoff places. You know, it's so tight. You know, East Fife are sitting at the top at this minute in time, but Annan, as you very well know, are one of the teams that are sitting at the top earlier on in the season.
Yeah.
So I'd probably say it's one of the most interesting leagues as far as results go. You constantly look at it and just see these teams just changing constantly. I think that game will probably finish off a bit of a draw tonight because I just think both managers are desperate to stay within that group. So I don't see much change in what Jim Chapman's doing at Annan because he's doing a good job down there. And Barry at Clyde, he's finally getting Clyde moving forward. Yeah.
Ruffy, before we get, I want to talk to Jim about some of the coaches and how things are changing at the development level. But I want to ask you about this serious situation where Wales manager Chris Coleman has decided he's going to ban family, friends, girlfriends, wives, anybody from the Wales camp in France 2016. Now, this would surely have caused a revolt in the 1978 side.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I was saying to Jim earlier that Holland were a big fan of wives and family being about the hotel, and it seemed to work for them. But I don't think it would work for a lot of people because they're obviously individuals who abuse that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The only vision I've got in my mind right now is step ladders at the ready down the back of the hotel. Just a thought, a different age, as Jim would say. And the last point here, just before we get Jim's thoughts, Celtic have announced they're part of an international friendly which is going to be played between Champions League qualifiers. This is obviously going to bring them a lucrative amount of money, but they've got Inter Milan in there, they've got Barcelona, they've also got Leicester City in this international tournament.
Yeah, I think they'll probably use it as being abroad, the supporters abroad, you know, get the chance to see these teams. Obviously it's a money-making exercise, but yeah, sometimes it can come back and bite you, you know, if you're breaking into cups and going away, and sometimes some players don't like travelling a lot, but it certainly looks a good tournament on paper.
Yeah. Jim, just before we finish, out of all the people that have come to your course, is there anyone that, as you mentioned, has given you that little moment where you thought, I've thoroughly enjoyed that person, they've really just enhanced my appraisal of the game?
Mr. Lippy was probably one of them because at the time he was only manager or coach to win the league, the World Cup and the Champions League, you know. So he kind of stood out. Also, his style kind of stood out. It was such a smoothie. Yeah. I was desperate to be Mr. Lippy. You know, he comes in there and he walks in and he's got the silver hair and he's got the tan and all that stuff, and he's immaculate with his dress. But he then sits down and he starts talking about the game, and it's just incredible. Just listen to. He's so laid back about it, and just the way he talks about it is just so simple.
Yeah.
So he's made a big impact on myself over the number of years I've known him, but we've been quite fortunate. We've had a lot of people coming across here. You know, most people will pick out Josie as one of the number ones they want to talk about, but Andreas was also put in an awful lot of time to get there at the end. You know, he worked hard. He came as a kind of 18-year-old boy for Portugal. He came and he went, he came and he went, he came and he went, and he got all the way through. And so Andre was slightly different, but Josie had that talent as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm sure there are a number of footballers and coaches out there that will really relish going to the coaching courses, getting their badges. Maybe we could even coach Ruffy down there, get his A licence. Ruffy, would you fancy that?
Yeah, but I think it's a bit late for me now.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what stamps? You know what stamps for you? Stamps for you?
Green Shield.
Stamps. Green Shield stamps.
Absolutely. Listen, we'll see. I'll see if I can put some money together for him. Thanks to Jim Fleeting, an absolute joy. We could have talked for another programme. We will undoubtedly make an effort to get Jim back. From Jim Fleeting, from Ruffy and myself, thanks for watching. Good night.